Hi there, and welcome to the latest episode of Pat's Procrastination, brought to you by the Pat's Propaganda YouTube channel. Please do not forget to be subscribing, folks, so that you do not miss any episodes of us. We are your hosts, Claire, Clazzy Clare, and Chudders, and this is it, episode 58. So, Chudders, how are things with you?
Things are all right with me, thank you, Claire. How is everything with you?
All good, all good. Ready to suit up and run through a wall for coach, quite frankly. In my very small stature, I would make a very small hole. However, still looking forward to it. I know we'll talk about it in a minute because you want to get to the earlier news, and that's fine. It was just prefaced by the coaches' breakfast yesterday, had me really fired up, and that's not just because it was a breakfast. So we will move on to what, as you said, I don't know if we could call it breaking news anymore, because like it broke and settled and we all stomped all over it. But yes, last episode we talked about the release of David Andrews, which was very sad. And I thought about this last night actually, and I'm still really sad about it. I'm actually still very, very sad that David Andrews will not be on the team. I think maybe it hadn't sunk in, and it's still not sinking in, and I'm very, 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 very sad. Anyway, John Bentley, he's gone. Jonathan Joes, he's gone. Dietrich Wise, I think I did them in the wrong order, but anyway. So yeah, how are you feeling about the leaving?
The leaving first, is that what we're going to deal with?
Yes, let's do the exits and then the entrance, the big sparkly entrance.
You missed off Austin Hooper this morning, but I think there's going to be
yeah, not talking about that.
There we go. There's the one for 1st of April. Got the reaction needed. Thank you, Claire. No, it's disappointing, David Andrews. Yeah, really. I think he'll be missed in the room. Juan Bentley, it shows a lot of the leadership, I guess. A lot of the captains are now gone from the previous regimes. Bentley surprised me, actually. I thought he was going to have a role in this offense. This defense. That one surprised me.
An offense. You never know.
Back. That surprised me. I thought he was going to have a role, sort of the opposite of Scolani. Yeah, that surprised me. But maybe they know more than we do about his recovery from his injury and what's exactly there. Similar with Andrews, maybe they don't have high expectations for how he's going to be able to recover the season, and they thought, right, now's the opportunity, let him go and get something else to wear if that's what he wants.
I think the David Andrews one is the one that just feels brutal, because he felt like, he said he was, I'm not going to quote verbatim, but he said he felt like he was sort of going to have another year, come back and work. He wanted to work with Drake May. So that feels kind of savage by coach. So as did the last coach, actually the last but one coach, Mayo, excluding Mayo because he didn't do anything. But the last but one coach I had a huge beef with because he let Ryanison go to the Texans for just a 7th draft pick. So me and Bill never recovered from that.
Got that much.
Shut up. Me and Bill never recovered from that. Lines of communication were severed, and but anyway, and now Vrabel's not starting off the best with the whole letting go of the beloved bear of David Andrews. So Vrabel's got some work to do.
Sure, he'll be very worried about that.
I know. He's a big boy, so I don't think he'll care. Something along those lines. So, yeah.
What impresses me from, and this is possibly where you wanted to get to soon, the interviews that have come out, particularly the past few days, it gives so much more of a greater sense of a program that's been installed now in the Patriots. It's not just a new head coach. It's not just new ideas. You get the feeling there's structure, there's a hierarchy, there's a direction, there's an identity, and we haven't even put ads on yet. It already feels a lot more structured than we've had had last year, certainly. And I hope that comes to fruition now with the players they're picking up, the way they're identifying talent, and when we then get to X's and O's, when it starts developing a team like roster.
You just want to talk about who they picked up, don't you? You just want to discuss the Stephon Diggs contract.
I'm very pleased they picked him up. I'm surprised, but I was very pleased. After bringing him in the week before and letting him walk out the building, I was surprised. I thought, oh, that's that done. They're all being polite in the press. And it's nice to stay in contact. I didn't think it was actually going to lead to something. So no, I was very pleased that they've picked him up. I don't have exceptionally high expectations that we're going to get Stephon Diggs at his peak, but I think
Well,
you've
no,
improved that
31.
receiver room, and you've got some talent now around Drake May. You've got even a veteran who potentially could provide some mentorship to some of your young players. Maybe try and get more out of them as well. Yeah, I'm hoping that's a great move on the offense.
You've got experience in his 10.5 years experience, and yeah, he's 31 coming off an ACL injury. And I must admit, now I'll preface this by, this is my opinion from listening to his presser. That's all this is. That he sounded very committed to being part of the process. Now, I get that it's easy to say, it's difficult to do, and it's March, or technically it's April today, so it's not even the beginning of the pre-season, that sort of thing. So it's easy to stand there before you've even suited up and say that kind of, those sorts of things. But from his language, from the way that what he's talking about, helping the younger guys and things like that, I don't get the impression, again, once he's on the field, this could be completely different. I don't get the impression that he is coming in as the diva wide receiver. He's coming in knowing that he's probably the top receiver, at least for now, that he's coming in with a lot of experience that will help the rest of the team. It's almost like he's at the end of his career. He can quote stats to you and tell you how good he has been and things like that before his injury. Now it's like maybe he's progressing into a time that he's going to be remembered for the fact that he helped build something good again with a young rookie quarterback. It was something that he did, and the success of the team, the success of the wide receiver room, say for specific, will help sort of reflect that it's his success, if you see what I mean. I get more of that vibe now. I could be misreading completely, and like I said, when he chooses his number and hits the field and everything, and doesn't get a catch in the first 2 games or something, the first 2 games that he plays, he starts moaning and stuff like that. And these things could easily happen because it's egos and it's testosterone on the field and all that sort of jam. I get it, but I did feel so different after listening to that than I did from the impression that you get sort of coming off from before. I think I'm still hung up ever so slightly on the fact that he was a Bill, but he did a lot to endear me, let's put it that way. Not that that's like his main effort or anything, but just in case he's listening and he really cares.
Yeah.
It'd be nice that somebody did, type thing. So yeah, maybe.
I don't mind picking up division players and hoping that adds a bit of fire and spice, and that's 2 games he want to win more than any other next season. So maybe we'll get even more out of him in those games. I should think that's the way I look at that. It's similar if a Patriot goes to one of our division rivals. I don't like going up against him because those are the games you don't want them to ball out. Yeah. No, I think it's good. The obvious concern is how he'll recover from the injury. There's obviously also his age. The other concern I do have is his contract is very friendly to the Patriots. Yeah. It gives them a lot of options for even cutting. If they had to cut him after 6 games, it's not going to break them, let alone if they need to at the end of the season or even after 2 seasons. It's very well structured to give the Patriots a lot of control. The problem I could potentially see with it is that it's obviously very incentive laden into how he performs, touchdowns, receptions, yards, etc. I'm assuming. Mm-hmm. And so no matter how the Patriots are playing, if he's not getting what he thinks he's due, it's not even just an ego thing. Then it's a financial thing. If he gets an extra 5 million on the year by having 1,000 yards and 100 receptions and 15 touchdowns, and he's not getting fed, and it could be because he's playing well and he's getting double coverage every time, and it's the Patriots are still marching down the field, they're just not using him. But if he's not the one that's getting fed, then he could start getting grumpy about that, because one, we've seen it in the past when he's just a diva, just his ego, but 2, if it's now hitting him financially. He's come on a friendly deal, but now he ain't getting his money because he's not getting fed. That's where it could lead to some issues. I hope not. Like you say, he spoke very well. He understands the situation with Drake May, and he's a developing quarterback and how bad it was last year. He's here to improve that. But let's see how it does really develop, I think.
The other point is he Coach Vrabel was a big draw for him. And that's interesting. Because it does feel like, again, this is only my impression, this isn't knowing anything. Vrabel isn't going to take crap from players. I don't think that Vrabel is going to accept diva wide receivers very well. Yeah, he'll let them sort of play out their ego on the field and be players. But I don't think he's the kind of coach that is accepting to, unrest in the locker room. He feels like the kind of guy that's going to call out your name and pull you into the office and be like, what's your problem, sort of thing. Now, again, speculating, just guessing, opinion. This is just nothing based on fact. It's just my impression of him and his personality and his presence. He's just his sheer presence. And so it sort of feels like if Diggs came on board because of how Vrabel is, it feels like he's going to realise he's not a dumb guy. He's this, smart player. So he's going to realise that this coach isn't going to pander to me to let me be princessy and things like this. So it's another one of those, maybe. Speaking of coach.
Go on then. Here we go.
Can we move on to the coach? Actually, before we move on to the coach, I do have to have a little bit of a read, as they say, as a bit of a quick promo of, in regards to the Stefon Diggs signing and my issue with it being a bill. There is an article over at patspropaganda.com from last week that I wrote in regards to the pickup and in regards to being a Patriots fan, being a fan of the sport, and dealing with the emotions of bringing in players from your most hated of teams, so on and so forth. And it lists the rest of the signings as well. So if you do enjoy to partake with an article, maybe with your morning coffee, or if the beverages are available, of course, please head over to patspropaganda.com. And whilst you are there, because the spring is springing and sprung now, you could treat yourself to some apparel. There are tight endage brand t-shirts that are still available. We have the 28-3 that Deuce is famous for, and there are other Pat's Propaganda apparel things over there. So if you are feeling kind of flush with a few dollars, go over to the Pat's Propaganda apparel shop and treat yourself. So there you go. There's my reads and things like this that I had to get in. Moving along, following the owners meeting / coaches breakfast yesterday, Chudders, how is one feeling?
Well, I thought he had something very interesting to say when he said he wanted to poke a hole in the styrofoam cups of the journalists that were there. I don't think there was anything else there wasn't anything else in the quotes that stood out to you, was there, Claire? I don't think.
Really? To be honest with you, I know what you're thinking, and I have a story about that thing in a minute. However, I dropped you a message whilst it was still going ahead and said, and I think I quoted saying something along the lines of, I found a quote for tomorrow, this is really exciting. And I know what you think it is, but it isn't. Because the thing that I found most interesting that he said is, if you don't draft well, it catches up with you and you've got to chase in free agency. Now, that was very much like, well, at least he gets it. Let's hope that it translates. Yeah, but I found it very interesting that he was very blasé about saying that. And yes, the draft, I guess the draft can't come quick enough. Yeah, I kind of want the draft done with now. I'm like over this and just want it, and like so I can move on, because I'm kind of sick of this chaos. But that is actually the quote that I was talking about, because I found that very interesting. It wasn't, and I'll carry on.
We move on from his quotes then. We don't need to read anymore.
No, I need to tell you. Tom Curran asked, what do you think of Tyler Warren? I say just build the whole offense out of tight ends. Vrabel replied was, yeah, and there was a couple of lines in between, and how many tight ends can we play? I'm all for playing and acquiring as many tight ends as we can possibly get. Chudders. He didn't add that, obviously. Sign me up. Bring me as many good tight ends as you have out there, Tommy, and we'll find them something to do. Obviously, you're talking to Tom Curran. So those are kind of mini quotes from the breakfast yesterday. And yeah, all that tight ended talk, I had to send TC a DM to be like, thanks, TC. That was amazing.
He's now back on board to being your favourite coach ever. So he's won you round
Indeed.
now.
Oh, yeah, completely.
From the concerns you had earlier to now he's the best coach ever because he wants all the tight ends.
Yeah, he wants all the tight ends. He wants all the tight ends.
So, shall we adjust that then?
Yeah, let's
to the
let's
draft.
move on from that. I get it.
Let's. I guess the other big news that affects the Patriots last week. I don't think we talked about this because of the timing when it came out.
The thing with the Giants.
The Giants, who have now signed Wilson as well as Winston, Jameis Winston. I think that strongly affects the Patriots. I don't think they're taking Shedeur Sanders at 3. I don't think they would have signed to starting with an asterisk around that maybe QBs, because when they signed Winston, I thought it could be the route they're going because they might not mind tanking to try and get Manning next year. And then when they signed Wilson, I thought, okay, well, that's their QB room. That's their plan for this season, those two, between them getting some play out of them. That doesn't solve them long term, but that's their plan. I think that takes them out of the running for Shedeur Sanders at 3. I don't think there's anyone that's going to come up above the Patriots to take a quarterback, because why would you go above the Patriots? Why would you go above the Jags, who are not going to be taking quarterbacks? So you don't need to go up above them. So I think that takes the possibility of 2 quarterbacks going in the top 3 out of the equation. Cam Ward probably going 1 to the Titans, and then there's 2 blue chip talents, Carter and Hunter, and I don't think you're going to get one of them, sadly.
I'd like to preface this by, this isn't completely synonymous for Pat's procrastination, because you're spreading like the negativity now and bringing everybody down and being like, oh, we're not going to get him and that's it. That's fine. You can say that. I don't want to be putting out a show that does nothing but make people miserable, quite frankly. We don't actually know what their quarterback plan is. They might not know. There's a good chance that they don't know.
I would.
Brian Daboll. Possibilities of so much happening.
But at the moment, I'd like to think, I hope he knows what his plan is. We don't know. So, okay, so you chastising me for saying that. So if that comes true, will you offer a full apology on that I wasn't being negative, I was being realistic?
I wasn't chastising you. What I was saying is it isn't the only possibility. Let's not sit here and say this is what's going to happen. Now, there's nothing wrong with saying there's a good chance that this is what I think is going to happen. Telling people this is what's going to happen is not the way to go on this show.
Okay. And that's the chastising.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, it's a possibility. Of course, anything is possible.
I think it's a strong likelihood you ain't getting Travis Hunter.
Sure. And that's fair. I just don't want to make everybody miserable at a ridiculously early time on a Tuesday. It just sucks. The world is enough.
What do you think, Claire?
It's a really good chance that now they don't take a quarterback. Of course it is. Because like you said, they've signed 2. When they signed Jameis, I was convinced that they were going to sign a quarterback at 3. Draft a quarterback at 3. Because Jameis was the journeyman, veteran, like stability, all that kind of jazz. When they signed Wilson, it was a bit weird. However, from what I'm hearing about Sanders and stuff like that, he isn't what last year's 1, 2, and 3 were. Of course not. Now, they may still, this is a possibility as well. I'm not saying this will happen. I'm not saying I know how likely it is. Anything is possible. They still actually quite like Sanders at 3. And that's still their potential plan. However, they aren't confident enough that he would be a full first-year starter and want the likes of Russell Wilson in the quarterback room to A, help him, and to B, win them some games. So maybe towards the end of the year, they put Sanders in, or they don't. They give him a redshirted year. It's not unusual for rookie quarterbacks to not start their first year. Now, they're taking him quite high for that to happen, is probably what you're thinking. Yeah, I've been doing this show too long, folks. But I still think it's a possibility. Now, the likelihood of mine over yours is, yeah, it could be like this. But there's still a chance that what I'm thinking could happen. And I'm not out there telling you this is going to happen, folks. I'm not telling you how to plan. I'm not telling you how to think. It's just we know absolutely nothing when it comes to the draft.
So
even
what
last
do you
year, 1, 2, 3 was certain, but we still didn't know which way to. I mean, what did Vrabel say? Tell me who goes 1, 2, 3, and I'll tell you who goes 4.
Okay. So my response to him would have been, okay, it goes Ward, Carter, Hunter. What are you doing?
Of course. Okay. Yeah. Great.
What do you think will happen then? Do you think they'll take Sanders, or do you think they'll take Hunter or someone else?
You know what? I don't know.
I know you don't know, Claire.
Anything could
It's not
happen.
happened. I'm asking what you think will
No,
happen.
exactly. I don't know, because I don't believe that I know more than everybody else. Quite frankly.
I
don't
still
know.
think they're gonna. There's a chance they take Sanders, but I think
Yes.
they take him. I think they take him at the start of round 2, because I don't think Sanders.
That's
I think Sanders
again,
will
that's
drop.
another thing that's fair.
I
The other
think.
thing is they
Yeah.
might like everybody's going nuts over the running back. No, now
Oh.
Deuce put out his mock draft at Genty at
Yeah.
4. Everybody's going nuts over the running. It's so funny.
Yes. So that's an interesting
Okay,
one,
I won't
because.
finish my thought.
Well, no. Okay, come on. You finish your thought.
I was going to say the other thing is I haven't looked at the Giants to know what they need positionally. Sorry, I don't tend to scout other teams, quite frankly, especially ones that I really don't like. But I don't know what their tight end room's like, what their wide receiver room is like. So if at 3 they need something more, and they're looking at the likes of Tyler Warren because they think he's really great, or the likes of is it Ashton Genty? I was trying to think of his first name. Apologies. If they see that that's more of a need in their system, there's still that chance that they don't take Hunter. This is the thing with the draft. There's so many different things. And then you've got the fact of, what if the Titans don't take Cam Ward? And then what? And then does he fall to the Giants, and then that changes? But who do the Titans take? Yeah, there's so much to be.
But
let's not be kind of like, oh, the Patriots aren't getting the. I'm just trying to say, maybe we shouldn't be too much of the Patriots aren't going to get the one that I really want, and be really like curmudgeon-y and maybe even princessy and pouty and type thing.
So if the Titans aren't taking Ward, they're taking Carter or Hunter, and you're ending up with the same equation at 4, if not worse
Possibly.
off, if no quarterbacks go in the top 3, and then not only are you missing out on Carter and Hunter, you're also missing out on someone else. That could be where Campbell goes. 3.
Or they could take Ward. The Browns could take Sanders.
The Giants take Jackson Dart, and the Patriots can take anyone they want.
No.
So yeah, you're celebrating.
Not again. Oh, this silly system.
Well, if that happened, that would be amazing, Claire. I will celebrate
This is
with
me
real.
in tech. You wonder why ACP's on a break. No, Titans take Ward. The Browns take Sanders. And then the Giants have either Hunter or Carter. And then the Patriots have Hunter or Carter. Again, that's still really feasible.
It's feasible.
I think that's more feasible than the other way around. That's actually what I think. What do you think is going to happen? I haven't got a clue because I don't know stuff. But
that's more feasible than which?
The Giants taking Sanders, maybe. Now, I reckon it's going to be Ward to the Titans, Sanders to the Browns, Carter/Hunter to the Giants, Hunter/Carter to the Titans, to the Patriots. Sorry, my bad.
Isn't
the balloons are throwing me off. The balloons have thrown me off.
Okay, so and this is, I guess, where we wanted to get to. Look, we discussed putting together our big boards of purely 4 players, no more. So looking at within our top 4 players, we should be able to guarantee that one of those is going to be available by the time they get to us. Have you had a look at this, Claire?
I love this. We did this, we did that, we did not. Chudders was doing a big board, and then he was doing a big 4 board. So no, I haven't looked at who I want, who the top 4 people are, because I kind of think it's going to go Ward, Sanders, Hunter / Carter, Carter / Hunter. That's kind of where it's going to go. It's like last year. So you were going to get Williams, Daniels, and May, and it didn't matter which way. You were going to get, those were the 3 you were going to get, and Williams was probably always going to be 1, but yeah, because the way that it trended. But do you need the top 3? You know the top 4, really?
You wanted May.
I did.
You didn't want Daniels.
I didn't. Actually,
so
no, that's not true. No. That's not true. I didn't say I didn't want him. I said, no, you asked me who I preferred. You asked me who I preferred, who I wanted, and it was May. I didn't say I didn't want Daniels. I wanted a quarterback. I just got the quarterback that I really wanted over the quarterback that was wanted.
But you had a preference. I
did have a preference.
So
you did. You had a preference.
I did. And yeah, it's a shame my preference didn't come true. Eh? And
okay, we'll trade you to the Commanders then. How's about that? I've been told I'm not allowed to be traded. No one said we couldn't trade you.
You didn't get much from me. So are you going to have a top 4 for us by the time we get to the draft? You got a few weeks yet.
When you say a top 4 for us, who the 4 players are you want the Patriots to take?
Then that's the point, is that you answer that.
Is that what you is that what you mean? Articulate yourself. Is that what you're saying to me?
So I'll give you my example. For me, number 1 is Travis Hunter. That's who I'd love the Patriots to draft.
Number 2 is Carter.
2 is Carter. 3 is Campbell. 4 has moved around a bit. I'm tempted currently to say Genti at 4. I'm not totally convinced on that. It could be Membu, to be honest. But I've just got, and I think that the Genti thing is also a slight suspicion of how Vrabel might look at the running back position, having had Derrick Henry in Tennessee as he did, seeing the benefits of having an elite back, not just a good back, an elite back. I'm not saying Genti is definitely guaranteed to be an elite back in the NFL, but he was elite in college. So he might see, okay, that's a way that we can maybe make things easier on the quarterback, but give him more options to develop. If the defenses are going to have to focus on the run more, then maybe that gives him more opportunities in the passing game. That could be a route they decide to go. So he's possibly 4th, but that's not set in stone at the moment because that does move a bit. I might go back to Membu. So as an example, that's where I'm going for top 4. One of those 4 is going to be available when the Patriots pick, because only 3 players can go before you, unless the Patriots obviously decide to trade down. So that's my big board at the moment for the top 4. So that's where I'm wondering whether you're likewise going to look at the available prospects and come out and say, this is my one. This is my number 1 player I'd like the Patriots to draft.
Okay. So folks, if you wish to get involved and add your big board, you can comment on our YouTube channel and put in the comments. So, you can comment
top 4. I'd also be interested to know what anyone else who's watching this thinks is going to happen at 3. How do they think the Giants are going to go now? Or
really, you've really opened our comments up to a whole debate. Okay, this is going to be busy. But yeah, folks, if you do want to hit Chudders up with your big board examples for Chudders, then yeah, comment in the YouTube comments. Alternatively, there's when we put the tweet out, you can comment on the show tweet at Clazzy Clare or at Chudders _. So check out if you're a Twitter /X person. Comment on that and we'll see that as well. Alternatively, as I said, on the YouTube channel in the comments that will be below us later on.
So looking particularly at the first 2 days, Claire, but I'm open to extending it further. What do you think are the Patriots' biggest draft needs, just overall? And
You do
not
realise
looking
we've
at
only got like a minute or two left.
not looking at
This
specific
feels like the
players.
next show comment. The
Okay, if you don't want to...
need the Patriots need O-linemen. I don't know what else to say to you. They need O-linemen. The problem is there any O-linemen that are worth it, sort of thing? Maybe at 4, that kind of thing. Although I'm still a big Campbell supporter, I'll be honest with you. So
opened it up for the 2 days, really. And you're looking maybe the top 4, top 5 needs for the Patriots. And I'd agree, tackles in there, definitely. Certainly at the moment, they still haven't got left tackle.
I think if you want the truth, if they went with... Now, the problem is I don't know. I haven't looked at the whole expanse to know roughly. I always find it difficult with draft is how high/low you expect someone to go. It's all very well looking at a prospect and thinking, oh, he'll fall to the 3rd, and then he's gone at the end of the 1st and things like that. Sometimes those sorts of things happen. When they had that run on tight ends a couple of years ago, some of those tight ends were projected much further back than where they were actually taken. So this is the thing that I always find difficult, because I always get it kind of wrong and put too much or too little value in a player. But I think if the Patriots, for me, I need a tackle, really a left tackle. And I kind of want a tight end, as you know. I think I'd kind of love, I don't know if it's a little bit rich, or I don't think he'll fall. 69 for a tight end would be good, because you'd have that funny little Gronk link and you'd have a reasonably skill set when it comes to tight end. So I'm kind of looking at that 69 thinking, yeah, I really fancy a tight end there. Whether or not it'll really transpire to the ones that I really like, maybe it's too rich, maybe it's not. But I think because of this whole, we're looking at the beginning and there's been so much talk about 4 being Hunter, falling to the Patriots and stuff like that. Gone is the prospect of getting the likes of Campbell, but when his arms came in like, this much too small and stuff like that. But they need to address the tackle needs. I feel like when we look at the draft and you look at the positional, I don't want to see many defense players, and I want to see plenty of O-linemen and offense players, kind of thing. If they didn't draft anything or any defensive position in this draft, I would be fine. I wouldn't care. I'd think, oh, okay. Unless obviously it's the whole taking Hunter at 4, because it depends whether you want to say that he's like a defensive back, is what the NFL say. But he's cornerback / wide receiver. It depends, where you want to put him. Other than that, defense is, there's so much for offense that could be necessary that I really feel they should look at that. Although I know they could do with another edge guy for the future. So, but I want the predominant letters to be OL or T or TE, RB, that kind of thing. It needs to be that. WR, it needs to be that. That's the best answer I've got for you at the moment.
That's pretty fair. I think tackle's the number 1 need. I think because of the strength in this draft and still a need on the Patriots, I do think edge is in that top 5 set of needs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of depth.
Okay.
And possibly that second pick, it could be a good landing spot for an edge defender. There's some talent around back end of the 1st, top end of the 2nd. It could be that
it is. Yeah, you've
and again,
got a point with that.
I don't think he's going to fall by then. It's hard to predict it at 4, let alone 38. But I think there could be an opportunity there to get a top end pass rush, and I think Patriots could deal with that. The other item, which isn't in the top 5 needs, but there's a lot of depth in this draft class, is defensive line. I saw that Barnes was hoping to get back for pads in a few weeks for team training in a few weeks. So hopefully he's back, he returns, gets back to his old self. There's still a slight question mark over that. They've obviously addressed it already, the defensive line already in free agency, but this is a deep tackle, deep defensive line draft. So that could be an area they pick up, not the first 2 days, but potentially later on. Just again depends on maybe what talent they evaluate that's available.
Let me preface then that I do agree with you. You have a very good point, and I want some backup for Barmore, whether or not it is like a later round guy, which is fine. I do want some backup because I don't want to be in a situation where we are looking at this team and just thinking, oh, Barmore needs to be okay. Now, whilst I want the guy to be okay for him and for his family, I don't want to feel as a fan that you're sitting there thinking, oh, we need that guy in, because it doesn't work like that. There's this human aspect, and I don't want that. It feels icky. So let me just sort of reevaluate what I said. Yes, whilst I don't want much defense, I want mostly offense. Yeah, you're quite right with the edge. I had completely forgot about that. The depth in this class is quite significant. So yeah, an edge guy further up, but that's a case of if you've got 5, if we're talking 5, 1 has to be an edge and 4 needs to be offense. That's my ratio. And then, like you said, the rest like offense again, and then a lineman. But that's kind of all that we have time for. We will have another drafty show prior to the draft, around the draft. We have kind of come out of sync now, folks, because of some work commitments and personal commitments. So we were every 2 weeks in the off season. We have shuffled it a little bit. So apologies if that has caused anybody any inconvenience. But hopefully, if you're subscribing, you won't miss an episode and you'll be able to watch it whenever is convenient for you. So, have you got any last thoughts, Chudders, quickly before I wrap up?
No, I agree with you. Tackle, I could even stretch to strong tight end class, something there. Possibly a later. I don't see wide receivers as high a need now. They've got Diggs, but I still think they could address. I'll go into my secret desires in another episode for that.
Yeah, that's
and
similarly, that for the next episode.
I do think they'll probably need to draft a running back in this class as well.
That's all offense. That was my point. It's kind of like the letters in a way don't matter as long as they're offensive letters.
And the interior office offensive line actually as well, guard center, but kicker. That's the other.
Have you heard the term wrap up? Do you understand? Well, that is it, folks, for episode 58 of Pat's Procrastination. We will be back soon to continue this ongoing onslaught of arguments when it comes to the draft. And then soon, shortly, the draft will be done and the chaos will be over. And there'll be more to begin because we'll argue over who they have picked. But anyway, folks, hope you've enjoyed this episode. Tune in next time. And as always, go Pats.
LFG.